But there was now too much at stake. Whether FC was true or false had become a matter of great public interest. FC networks had been established in 38 states. Millions of dollars of public money were being spent providing facilitators in schools and adult centers.
You got it, Michael. Nice job. Good.
Plans were being made for people to take their facilitators to college and even into the workplace. All this had happened without any public debate. From public prosecutors to special educators, from social workers to parents, in their enthusiasm to adopt facilitated communication, they had chosen to overlook a number of things about FC that simply didn't make sense. Skeptics wondered how thousands of autistic people could have taught themselves to read and write just by watching television. And why should disabled individuals who can point by themselves need someone to hold their hands to type?
Regret.
And most significantly, they point out, why is it that most of the time, most of the autistic individuals are not looking at the keyboard? It's certainly true that a touch typist can type without looking at the keyboard. Connie Cesari, star graduate of the Catherine Gibbs School, can type 100 words a minute without looking. She has memorized the layout of the keys. But before starting, she registers her hands in a home position. This is her reference. Frontline wanted to see if she could type with one finger without looking. Despite her intimate knowledge of the keyboard, she can't. Nobody can. Without a reference, it's just impossible.
You can't be a one-finger typist and not look at the keyboard. You just can't get oriented. You don't have a home position. And when you watch children who are FC facilitated communication users, they may not be looking at the language board.
Look at the board.
But the facilitators are not taking their eyes from it. They're fixed on it.
What's 6 times 2? Good. Okay, space. What's 12 times 12 plus 1? We carried the 1, remember? What's 12 plus 1? Excellent. Give me 5. Okay. Plus 1. You carried the 1, remember?
Hi, how are you?
What's 12 plus 1? What's 5 times 5?
Doug Bicklin admits that typing without looking is impossible. So what's going on in the Syracuse schools?
Put down the 4.
It's not good technique. It's very sloppy, and I think it really raises questions about that particular typing, and as well it should. And what we need to do is to harp on facilitators to monitor eyes. It's a lot for people to manage, but I think we have to do it.
But does the Facilitated Communication Institute practice what it preaches? In the conference last May, Annegret Schubert, arguably the most expert facilitator in the world, gave a seminar on the importance of clients looking at the keyboard.
Are able to work with less support.
Is there anything you want to share with me about it?
Yet minutes afterwards, she was in the corridor talking to a man with his eyes closed and a letterboard moving around in the air. And even when Doug Bicklin was present, we filmed Jeff Powell typing while looking at the ceiling, something Bicklin concedes is impossible. As Bicklin admits, this is a serious matter. If the autistic individuals are not looking, then the facilitators are effectively putting words into their mouths. Scientists in Australia had warned Bicklin of such dangers. This videotape especially concerned them. Rosemary Crosley, the founder of FC, is facilitating with a head injury victim in a coma to make a very important decision about where he will live. Because the man is in a coma, his head pointer barely moves throughout the taping. By drawing a line on the screen, it is easy to see that Rosemary Crossley is ever so slowly moving the board.
I don't think they're doing it consciously, but they're absolutely manipulating these individuals, and they're communicating for them. And I don't think that that's acceptable. I don't think that other people have the right to communicate for someone else.
The scientific evidence suggested that far from unlocking the minds of autistic individuals, FC tapped the unconscious thoughts of the facilitator. The process, skeptics say, is not unlike what goes on with a Ouija board. As letters are built up, hypotheses are formed about what comes next. The facilitator who attributes the output to the autistic individual is unaware they are controlling the typing. The autistic individual becomes so sensitized to respond to tiny cues that they become an amplifier for the facilitator's unconscious.
U TT.
Do you ever have a nightmare that instead of liberating people, FC might end up enslaving them?
Yeah, that worries me. That worries me that people would be in some way, you know, that people are being influenced. There's interpretation of things that, you know, we see that happening, and it troubles me. It troubles me. I think it's terrible.
Did he f you in your mouth? No. Did he f your toes?
But what explains the high number of facilitated abuse allegations? While most courts have refused to accept FC as genuine communication, earlier this year, a judge in Wichita, Kansas, allowed a nonverbal autistic boy to give testimony through FC.
Did he f your butt? Yes. Yes. Yes.
Why the facilitator is making these allegations on behalf of the child, I don't know. Whether they've been abused themselves, I don't have any sense of that. Maybe they've been persuaded. If you look at the literature from Syracuse University, they're suggesting that 10%, make that 13% of the children in their initial study had alleged that they had been sexually abused. Now, if I attended a conference and I was told that 13% of the people in the initial study had been sexually abused, I'd go home and wonder, well, maybe my students are being sexually abused, so maybe the idea is being planted.
Syracuse University is now in the position of having an institute dedicated to researching, teaching, and promoting a technique that all the scientific evidence says is not real. The university even has 7 students doing research theses on facilitated communication. A well-meaning social movement aimed at giving a voice to a group of disabled individuals has developed into a bitter controversy, which some critics have dubbed the cold fusion of human services. They ask why millions of dollars were spent on a technique without first proving it worked. And if unproven, why did thousands of autistic children waste precious years sitting in advanced classes instead of more appropriate education? These are also the questions families like the Girardis are asking. Families whose lives have been turned upside down by FC. After 9 court appearances, social services carried out a controlled test of Matthew, which proved he wasn't capable of authoring the accusations against his father. Last February, the prosecutor dropped the case, and the family was reunited to continue with their lives.